Hey everybody, it is Wednesday, and so today is my craft demo day. And so in honor of the class I have this Saturday, the Stamperia, I've been saying it wrong, I've been calling it Stamperia, but it's Stamperia. Stamperia. Anyway, I apologize if I ever incorrectly corrected you to tell you that it was Stamperia when it's actually Stamperia. So I have a class this weekend called the Flip Flop Book for using Stamperia's paper packs, and so I thought today I would do a little with their mixed media with their supplies as well. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. I think we set it up so I can see your comments, if anyone is there to comment. Okay, so today I'm just gonna make a card, and I'm gonna, yesterday I did a little reel, you can look at it on Instagram, using one of these stamps, the Life is a Piece of Mixed Media Art, and I just embossed it, so here's that. I'm not sure the one I did for the live is, but here are a couple that I ended up with, so those are fun, and I'm going to start by cutting out, so I'm saving these for later, and I'm going to start by cutting out, where's my cutting board? Alright, I'm going to start by cutting out a card front from the same blue, so the background color, or the underneath color, is going to be this blue color. And the reason I'm using that is because I am going to use for embellishments this pack, and this is the Stamperia Cosmos, and of course I love it because of the owl, but sorry, tickle in my throat. It has these a lot of these great images and a sort of starry theme that that I just love. I'm really into sort of alchemy and astronomy, and where art and science meet in those areas. It's there's an very interesting history behind alchemy and color, and the whole idea of like that paint colors are actually came from alchemy in terms of, you know, a lot of them are heavy metals, which is why some of them are dangerous. All right, so anyway, that's a much bigger conversation for another time. I'm going to start by cutting a 5x7 front that I'm going to work on today. And this is just a cardstock. I'm pretty sure this is out of my American, actually I'm not sure. It's a core stock though, so the colors all the way through. Some cardstocks are the colors applied to the top, and you can see a white edge. I hate those kind of papers. They tend to shred really easily. And I usually, if I've chosen a color, then I want it to be that color. I don't want to see any white. I'll remove this first. No. So there's the piece that I'm going to use. And I just decided to go ahead and layer up a bunch of different things on it today. So I pulled this. It's, it's the Stamperia rice paper, one of the rice papers. I've been told that rice papers are hot right now, which is good to know because I have a lot of them. So if you're at all interested in collaging with rice papers, I have many of the Stamperia designs. You know, some from Prima and some from, yeah, lots of places. So I'm going to go ahead and just rip. Now you can see, when they say it's rice paper, they really genuinely mean it's rice paper, and you can tell because of this pattern on the back. Those are the rice fibers, and rice paper tends to be unidirectional, which means that it doesn't tear in a straight line because there is no straight line. Some papers, you know this, you know, it's easier to fold a piece of paper one direction versus another. And that's because of the grain of the paper. So you can test the grain of a paper by squeezing it like this. So the grain of the paper goes like this. You can tell because it's easier. This is across the grain, right? So it's harder to bend it. So the grain of the paper, it means it's going to be easier to tear it this way. With rice paper, there is no easier. It's just, yeah, it's just the direction. Okay, And then to collage this on, I'm just going to use a little bit of regular gel matte because that's what I like to use when I collage. I also use sometimes, I have a collage page in the store, which I like, but this is going to give it a nice sturdy finish, which I kind of want. It's kind of pretty. So I'm just going to put a nice, even, thick layer on this whole thing. I'm really just concentrating on where I know the paper's going to go, so I'm not worried about this other edge because I'm going to get that when I do top coat, which I will do in a moment. So first I'm going to come along with this. There we go. And then I'm just going to seal it in. That's what collaging is. You put the medium under and then on top of that. So you've sealed it between two layers. And that means that it's very well glued down on your surface to start with. And then it's also, it helps stop it from bubbling and that sort of thing. That's why you use both, you do both top and bottom. Okay, so I've got a good layer going on that. It's a place to put my gooey brush. So I'm gonna make that for a second. I always have old water fill this. Nope, that's not true. Okay, so alright, so that was just to make sure I don't end up with gooey stuff on my new stuff. And let's see what I'm going to do next. So I've got some collage mediums. I think what I'll do now is I'm going to use this stencil. And, you know, thematically I was just looking for things that had similar imagery. So, alright. And so I'm going to just squeegee some of this on there. So I need to find this. This has been well loved recently and I have not taken the time to clean it off. So it's got lots of colors on it. And I think I'm gonna use, so Stamperia doesn't have products in the same way some of the other brands do. So I'm gonna use this Finnabair texture paste with this gold, which is a nice complement to the, to the imagery. And I'm just gonna scrape it on. And this is a brand new stencil and I am being careful. I actually want to express the pattern. You know, often I don't really mind if the pattern is a little disjointed, but today I'm trying to get the picture of it because I really want it to look like what it is on this surface without squeezing too much underneath. There you go. You can see what happens when you pay a little attention. Now, one thing to note, I did not let the gel medium dry, and so it lifted up a little bit. So I should have maybe taken the time to heat gun it a little first. But you can see, you know, that whole idea of when you put something down on top of disparate elements, how it coalesced into one image. Hopefully you can see that here, how that worked. And I do want to get this pretty dry because I want to work on top of it, so do some stamping and I could have done this also by, you know, brushing on a color with my blending brushes now. You know, I love doing those. So rather than going for texture, I could have just gone for the pattern using my blending brushes. So there's a good start. Let's see where we go with this. Okay, so I might have to flatten this out a little bit before I end up putting it on the card. I can see it's working a little bit. I also, when, you know, if I do a little bit of dimensional tape behind it, that helps sometimes with that, when you actually apply it to the card front. All right, good start. Okay, so I think what I want to do next is I've got a couple of things, and I really wanted to try doing something I haven't done in a while. So these are the decorative chips. These are basswood, basswood, and this is the what we used to call gray board. I don't know if they call it gray board anymore so much, but it's, you know, it's cardboard basically. And these are, ooh, you can smell, whew, came out of the Glowforge or whatever laser cutter they use. I actually have a Glowforge, very much intending to make my own versions of these. So this is a little, you know, so this has the geometric piece of it, this has the steampunk piece of it, which I kind of super love. So I'm adding a little bit of that. I actually happen to have lying around on my desk, because, you know, I'm me, some steampunk elements. I don't know if they'll quite work with this, but we'll see. This might not work either. I just wanted to try it and see what I get out of it. So what I wanted to do with this though was, so there are a couple of options. I can gild it with, let's see, I'll show you them both. So there's I've got this, oh, that's rose gold. This is brushed iron. I don't know where my vintage gold is. Well, so there's these waxes from they're metallic waxes. They're from Finnabair, which is a Prima brand, and you know, those are easy. You just brush them on with your fingertip like this, and then you get a metallic finish. And it's great for highlighting texture. You've seen me use this before, doing that for sure. But this is just to color in something completely. But you know what? I think I want to go gold. And so since I can't find my gold, I don't see my gold, I'm going to try something else. So I've turned it over, and I'm going to do the same with, I think I like this one. Let's see if I can pop this out without damaging it. It's very, very, very delicate. Okay. There. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, and I have my Letter It embossing ink pad and my Stupendous Detail Gold embossing powder. And I like both of these because they're very, well, they're very effective. The Detail Gold is a very fine embossing powder, so it really gets your image embossed well. And so I'm just trying this to see if I get the effect that I want. And I'll do some stamping embossing in a minute, but I just wanted to see if this works, because I just had this idea in the middle of the night, like, ooh, that'd be cool if I did it this way. Okay, so there's that one. I'm gonna go ahead and heat gun it. I'm gonna hold it with an awl so I don't hurt my fingers. And it looks like I'm gonna have to do a second layer. But I'm hoping, it's very, oh, okay, it's very light, so it's skittering away from me, so I gotta get a better grip on it. I'm hoping that you can see it turn, because it's very satisfying to watch. Hoping you can see that glow as it melts. Very cool. All right, so there's that layer. And let me get a nice close-up. Hopefully you can see the glimmer that created. Anyway, and then let me do the gear, and then what I'll do is do a second layer if I need to, which I think I do on the other one. Man, look at that. Now that seemed to have taken to the, hot. Took to the embossing ink a little better than the wood did. So let's see, get that nice and shiny so you can see it. Okay. So I'm going to do one more layer on this because it didn't quite cover it completely. And so I have the ink pad. I'm going to dab it again. And since I have the embossing powder just sitting here, I'm just going to And if any of you are old hats at embossing, you know that the more layers you put on, the thicker bead you get. And it can be very satisfying to layer like this and get really thick layers of embossing enamel on top of something. You can really give it a nice finish. There we go. I like that. Okay. So there's that, and of course the cleanup involves dumping the extra embossing powder back in here. Move away. Okay. So now I have a couple of elements, and I might do more. Well, you know, I probably should have done more of the gears. But now I can play around a little bit with adding some things like this. And now I can start thinking about what I might want to do in terms of taking out images from this stamp or paper pad. So this is the Cosmos paper pad. If you come and do the flip-flop book on Saturday, you get to choose your paper pad, and this is one of those. You know, Stamperia's imagery is great no matter what paper pack you choose. They have all of these really fun ones. But it's almost always the same. You get several pages that are front and back, that are whole pages, and then they often have these journal cards and elements front and back, and then they have things like these sayings and more single pieces, and then more front and back journal cards, and then even the front page and the back page have prints on them, so you can use them either direction. All right, so what I'm going to do actually is I saw this one. I'm going to cut out several, and when I say cut out, I mean fussy cut. You could also, you know, with these round ones and things like that, you could probably come and use a die cutting machine with a round die and cut those out. I am not the most precise hand cutter, so one of the reasons I like die cutting machines so much. Of course, one way to hide that is to use a scallop or something with a little fun, you know, aspect to it. Let's see. If I'm going to use Be Fearless and Create Without Fear, then maybe I should do something majestic. And I'm not sure I'm going to use all of these elements. I'm just cutting some out so that I can audition them, which means to put them on the piece of paper and see if I like them, and if I don't, take them away. It's a collage term. All right. So this is where the layering comes in with stuff like this. Right there, bam, right off the bat. And then okay, so a couple things I'm gonna do because I've got a lot of gold elements here, and so this feels a little lacking in edging. And so what I'm gonna do is, okay, grab some more wax paper. And then here's an effect that I really enjoy doing, where you take the ink and your embossing powder, which was in front of me and is absconded. Here we go. Okay, so here's one way to do this. You you often see me edge my pieces with a ink pad. Well, here's a version of it where I edge it with embossing powder. And then I get that. Now, I had this raggedy paper edge I didn't realize, so I'm just gonna trim that off. But then I get this nice, solid, shiny edge, and it picks up, all the gold that I've got in these other places. See the effect I'm getting there really clearly. I love it. It's making me very happy. And I'm intentionally sort of making a nice broad frame of this out of this. Okay, so you can see I've got a nice gold edge now. Oops, see, that was one of the reasons why I don't want to heat gun over my powder. I should have been more careful. Okay. Save as much of that as possible. If you are organized enough to have the little craft trays that you can then use to and you can brush all the powder off. You actually save even more of your powder that way. So look where I'm at now. Yes. So I've got some of my elements that I could throw down. Bam! Hopefully you can see how that upgraded that a little bit. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, so I'm just gonna start gluing some stuff down, which means glue. There's this, and because I want there to be a little dimension, okay, so I really like that there. And this one, if I had a needle nose glue applicator with some craft glue in it, I would use that on this and get some of these edges a little more, but it doesn't have to be, not a journal cover or anything like that, so it doesn't have to be so solidly glued down that I'm too worried about it. So this, because this has created a little bit of dimension, I'm going to add some, oops, like this. And this can just go down on top of it like this, like that. I don't want to put too much of this glue on the back because it could warp it. So that is what happens. I like this coming off a little bit like that. If I'd been a little more prepared, maybe I could have pulled out the hole punch and hole punched that and had it with a tag, actual tag, you know, elements hanging off of it, like a ribbon or something like that. I'm gonna add dimensional tape behind the saying. And there we go. You know what? It's missing a little something. Hold on. Let's see if I have any juice left in this. This is a jelly pen, and it's gold. And so I'm just going to come along and add a little touch of gold border, just scribbling it on here. And sometimes that can give it a little oomph. This pen has been sitting around for a year, I don't know. So the tip's a little dry. Another thing I could do is I could use a little, this is a Stays-On Studio Glaze. It's basically, basically a paint. It's a paint pen. A little like, you know, liquid pearls, which I might switch to if this doesn't work out. I want this to be, okay. So I'm just going to come in and create little dots along here. This is a little more fluid than liquid pearls, which I like. So squeezing out a little faster. It does mean I'm going to have to wait and let it dry before I do anything with the card. Just true of all of these dimensional paints. But again, hopefully, well, where's the last little dribble? Let's see, you know what, that's gonna bug me so much. So you see I've got this blob now that's here, and I'm just gonna scoop it off, there. And I've got a little smear where it was underneath it, but I'd much rather have this smear and then reestablish the paint as the dot that I want and not a blob. Okay, so that's what it is. I've got putting my finger in something. I've got a little can't stop myself. I think I'm gonna call it good. That is the front, so that means that once it dries, I'm gonna apply this to a card base, and I think that's it. I feel like there's a little more I could put in here. Okay, I'm gonna do it. This is a Stickles, and you know, that gold pen really did not pop very well, so I'm just gonna come along and add this gold, and it's a different gold from the other golds. I've got several golds now going on this piece, and which I like. And so I'm just going to do that scribble, but with this Stickles, and it's just going to frame the image up a little bit. Ah, there we go. That's what it needed. Love it. Okay, so, whoop, was not careful enough. Fortunately, that's on the back. So let's see, hopefully you can see this. See all the different elements in the gold that I have in there with the Stickles and the embossing powders and the glaze and the texture paste in the background. So yeah, I think that's it. I might have to do something to mitigate the fact that that tear happened. So, you know, there's definitely some lessons to be learned. Patience, dry your layers. When you're doing something like this, drying your layers, you know, in my art journaling, it's not such a big deal, but here it would, you know, it changed. Let's see. Let's see if there's a way to fix that just right now. If not, I'll do it later, but let's see if we can't, since I have this element hanging out. So this is the other piece that I embossed yesterday. And that might just, you know, deal with the fact that there's some, the rest of the piece feels so good. I'm just kind of bummed that that rip is so visible. So I'm just gonna see if this helps that, mitigate that. Ooh, and then you know what? All right, I thought it was done, but I guess I'm not quite. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in another gear. So, which means I am gonna emboss it because I want it to match. So let's see how quickly I can do this. How fast of an embosser are you in here? Okay, and this particular embossing powder is a detail embossing powder, which means that it's very fine and you end up with a very smooth surface when you're done. So what I'm going to do here is just add a little detail so that when I put this down, it doesn't feel it's disjointed. Okay. Reestablish this little blob because I knocked it down. Okay, so it's not the it's not the quite the where I would have put it if I had planned it, but I think it helps, you know, cover up the mess up that was underneath there. And yeah, I kind of like it. I might add a few more gears, like maybe a couple over here and maybe one down here that balance it out a little bit. But yeah, I hope that that inspires you. I hope that reminds you how cool these Stamperia images are in the paper, and that maybe you're inspired to sign up for the Flip Flop book this Saturday, and or to come in and just grab a pack of Stamperia because they're beautiful papers, and I have a lot of them. So let's see, let's do this. Right. So thank you very much for joining me today. Hope that was inspiring, and I hope to see you at the store in the next few days. All right, stay well, everyone.